Right, I'm delighted to be joined on the phone by Arts For You favourite from long ago. We've not spoken to him for a long time on this show, but I'm delighted to hear he's up to very exciting things up in the big smoke. And that is Tom Drayton from Pregnant Fish Theatre Company. A very good afternoon to you, Tom.
Good afternoon to you too. It's good to be on the show again.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has been.
Yeah. We're in a new studio and everything now. That's how long. Nice. That's how long it's been. I'm actually sat behind glass now in a very warm studio. Got a big green room waiting area. Got lovely black curtains up. I tell you, it's pretty good actually.
When you said you were sat behind glass, I just wondered if that's where they kept you.
Do you think? They probably should. This is probably where I'm the safest place to be on a Monday fortnightly is when I'm in the studio. So tell me about this. Who put Bella in the Wych Elm? I'm intrigued. True crime on stage. Give me some Jen.
Yeah, well, it's a question, isn't it? So, Who Put Bella in the Wych Elm is the culmination, I suppose, of about a year's worth of research and experimentation and failings and trying to work things out. So, basically, we have been working in conjunction with the Worcestershire Archives and Archaeology Service, who have got the West Mercia Police Archives as part of their collection. And we've been sifting through police records and archives and different newspaper articles to try and work out the answers to the question, who put Bella in the Wych Elm? So the case itself, if we're talking about true crime theatre, the case itself is about 75 years old now. And basically 75 years ago, in Hagley Woods in Worcestershire, 4 boys were out bird nesting, trying to find eggs because it was the Blitz and rations were low. So they were out trying to find some eggs in the woods, trespassing on some the estate grounds. And in a hollow tree, they found a skull. And they were a bit shocked. They ran home without telling anybody. And then eventually one of the boys felt so guilty, he told his parents, and the police went to investigate, and they found this woman's skeleton stuffed into the tree. And they had no idea who it was or who had put her there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite something. So a whole skeleton. There was the whole skeleton there.
A whole skeleton. So bits were found sort of around. The skull was obviously intact. It had some hair attached to it. There was some remains of clothing attached as well. And some of the bones were found kind of around the tree in different areas. But there was no sort of identity. This woman couldn't be identified. They looked at the dental records. They looked at specific local missing cases and all that kind of stuff, and nothing could be found about this woman, about who she was and who put her in the tree, until around the local area in sort of Birmingham and Kidderminster, this graffiti started appearing, and the graffiti was various kind of messages, but it all kind of said, who put Bella or Lou Bella in the Wych Elm? And the police went wild and the media went wild, and it became this huge kind of case that attracted sort of national and now international attention. But despite lots of different things, it's never really been solved as yet.
Amazing. And how did you sort of come to sort of find out about the story itself? How did it sort of spring into your mind?
So we, as you know, we started in Worcester in about 2010, and because we were undergraduates at the university there, we started our company then, and so we've kind of had a local connection to the story. But to backtrack a bit, we as a company, we were just obsessed with true crime and true crime podcasts, true crime documentaries. We'd all listened to Serial and Undisclosed, and we'd all watch Making a Murderer on Netflix and stuff. And we spent so much time of like production meetings talking about different theories and new, revelations in different cases and stuff. And we realized that we might as well try and take this obsession and put it into our theatre. And we realised that actually, you've got true crime podcasts are a huge thing, and documentaries as well. And we wanted to see what theatre could offer to that, what part theatre has to play in this kind of huge upsurge in true crime media, basically.
And what have you found over the course of your sort of your devising and your sort of rehearsals, and literally just weeks away from your first performances?
Yeah. It's a good question, because we started off really like with a question, like whether theatre can actually, it has something to offer to this discussion really, or to this kind of true crime explosion. And we started off, so we looked at the case, we did a lot of research into the case, we went through the archives and all the sort of published media. And originally our plan was, okay, we'll stage these characters in the case and that kind of stuff. And very quickly it became very crime watchy and almost there's something untrue about it. We weren't there. We don't know how these actual events went down. The only truth that we've got is the written police reports and the written newspaper articles and all the books that have been written about it. So after a bit of experimentation in the studio, we Leah Francis, who's written the show, she basically realized that actually we can stage the archives. We can take what's been written and put that directly onto stage. So every single thing that the actors speak in the show comes directly from archival sources. So newspaper reports or police documents or witness statements, all that kind of stuff, which means that as every line is spoken, we've got the projections behind the actors of the sources of where things are. So you might have the actual document or the letter projected behind the actors as they speak the words. So instead of recreating a crime case, what we're doing is staging the archives and the actual documents that we have in order to create a narrative from that.
Oh, I like it. Now, tell me, I'm looking at your poster here, and I see a picture of a broken chair, but a particular chair, and you put a call out for somebody who had a chair like this. Now, is this quite an integral part of the story?
Yeah, it is. So I said that the case isn't just... So the case is, in its simplest form, is about Bella in the Wych Elm and who put her there. But it's so interconnected to loads of different things. So over the years, people have sort of drawn these connections between different events of who Bella could be. And one of the options that over the past few years people have thought of who Bella could be is this singer from Berlin called Clara Bauer. Now, Clara Bauer was a singer in the Etta Orchestra in the 40s, and she... did some amazing recordings, and according to some people, her recordings disappear in about 1942. She stops recording. There's no records of her, according to some people, from that point. So one of the ideas is that she was a spy and was going to parachute into Birmingham and was caught by somebody and put into the tree. But this has only gained traction because of its connection to a real life person who was caught and executed around the time of the 1940s. So, and that person is called Joseph Jacobs. Now, he is the last person to have been executed at the Tower of London. He parachuted into in the West Midlands area around the time that the skeleton was discovered, a few years before that. He broke his leg when he fell, and he was captured by some farmers, who then took him in and they questioned him, and he was interrogated, and he became, the last person to be executed at the Tower of London. And the chair in the poster is he was seated on a particular wooden Windsor chair. And you can find images of this chair still, and it's got one of the slats removed from the back. And one of the things we want to do is, as I said, like recreate these photographs and documents. So one of the things I really want to do is get that. We want to do is have that chair as a sort of symbol of Joseph, of his execution. Because obviously we don't want to, as I said, we're not creating things up. We're not making up facts or making up scenes in a way. Rather, we're staging the photos and the documents and that kind of stuff. It's a long story.
Do we actually find out who put Bella in the Wych Elm and who Bella was?
That's a good question. Our show is literally as up to date as possible. So we had a script finalised kind of before the new year, and we've been staging that up. But then new theories and new things are happening all the time. So we've been really, really lucky to have been working with Giselle Jacobs, who's the granddaughter of Joseph Jacobs, who was the last person executed at the Tower of London. We had some great theories come from her in January, so they've been written into the show as well. And then literally last week, a new book was published by Andrew Sparks Books in Hales Owen, which had used they've got some really amazing new things using new technology from universities. I'm not going to give away what it is exactly, because we're using it in the show as well. But so we've been in talks with the publishers of that, which was published last week, to now insert it into the show now. So we're completely up to date with all the current theories of who Bella is and what might have happened to her.
Amazing. Now, this runs in the Space in London. Whereabouts is the Space, for anyone that doesn't know?
So the Space is in the Isle of Dogs, just below Canary Wharf. It's
nice.
A great little venue. It's a converted church, and they do some amazing stuff there.
And we're running March the 13th, 15th, 16th and 17th at 7:30 each evening, plus a Saturday matinee at 2:30 on the 17th. Early bird tickets gone, finished. I was just reading blind. It's never good sometimes. But I'm telling people, right, you should have booked ahead for that. But tickets are available through the Spaces website, aren't they? Which is space.org.uk. And then the events on there, so to book those tickets. I should think there's going to be a great deal of interest in this if there's not been already.
Yeah, it's really tapping into. I mean, we did it because we're obsessed with true crime, but it really taps into that kind of the huge increase in true crime media at the minute, and we're also sort of questioning why that is as well. What's our interest in it? Like, what this one case, from Worcester has become this huge kind of international like myth in a way, and it's kind of like, well, why has that happened, and what is it about that, and who's been involved in the creation of that as well.
So what sort of style does it take? What sort of form? Because you're always kind of your shows in the past have always been quite sort of ingenious, the way they've been staged and the physicality and things like that. Have you had to sort of look at that as well?
Definitely. I love that. Thanks for saying. It's been really good, interesting in how to be able to physicalize it, because you can't just, as I said, stage like a crime scene or an investigation. So the shows become really physical. It's a mix between like a podcast and a performance in a way. There's storytelling in there. There's documents and photographs in there as well. But it's really inherently theatrical and physical as well. We've got 25, sounds really weird when it's out of context, but 25 broomsticks or broom handles without their heads. And they are used throughout the whole show as different things, as sort of extensions of bodies or to recreate the woods. And it's become a really kind of, it's really, really theatrical. We really wanted to make sure that we use the sort of, the tools of theatre to be able to turn this into something different. Like you're coming to see this particular show because you can't get this insight into the Bella case from a documentary or from a podcast. This is something completely different and completely fresh. We think we haven't seen someone doing this before, and we think it's definitely got some legs.
And so do we see the four boys at the beginning? Is that how things kick off? The sort of 1940s and Hagley Woods?
There's definitely the 1940s there. There's Hagley Woods. There are the four boys as well. It's really like there's some great imagery in there. I think this is why it's partly become such a big case. You've got someone hidden in a tree, and if you look at photos of the Wych Elm as well, it's a terrifying looking tree. It's not normal wych elms don't look like that. It's this horrible sort of gothic thing. So yeah, you've got all this imagery of the tree, the chair as well, but also this. It was linked to other murders in the area by a brilliant woman called Margaret Murray, who was at the University College London, and she's like a sort of Egyptologist, but she basically researched witchcraft ongoing throughout the country at the time in the 1950s, and her sort of theory was that witchcraft was happening all over England, but kind of in secrecy. And so she linked it to all these sort of occult ceremonies and stuff as well, because Bella's hand was found quite far away from the body. So she says the hand was cut off to be this hand of glory, which is like a hand that can ward off spells and that kind of thing as well. Or maybe she was put into the tree because she was a witch, and the power of the tree conceals the magic and that kind of stuff. So you've got this crazy imagery about it as well. It sort of it's really kind of like legendary in a way.
So where do you see this going? Like you said, you feel it's got legs. Are you going to sort of do further performances of it beyond the space?
Yeah, so we are. It's been an experiment, this whole kind of like process. So we really want to put it across to an audience now, and see like an audience's reaction and how people engage with it, because it's very much about working with the audience through the archives. The audience we're not just going to tell them exactly what's happening. The audience work with us to kind of go through the archive boxes, and it should feel like. Going through the police archives, you get sent all these boxes in the archive space. You open them up and you flick through them, and they're kind of, they're collated in different things, but you end up in this kind of flicking from one thing to the next, and another thing leads into another. And the whole show is that kind of process with the audience working out exactly what connects to each other as well. So we really want to get some audience feedback and see how an audience relates to the piece. And then we really want to take it as far as we can, really. We'd love to. One of the plans is to take it to the Midlands, because it's such a, there's a real passion for this case in its hometown and its home area. And it would be great to take it down there. There's people there, up there. There's people there working with, there's people writing books. There's people doing poetry. There's filmmakers. And the Bella case is, being explored in so many different ways. The theatre is just one of those mediums, and we really want to take it home, basically.
Fabulous. I'll tell you what, we're certainly whet my appetite, and I hope everybody else that's listening, and hopefully it will do more than just the performances, like you said, in London there. Music, does music play a key part?
Definitely, yeah. So we've got some great composers. We've got the Dagan Smiths working with us this time, Adam Dagan Smith and Jamie Dagan Smith. They're actually in Philadelphia. They moved to America last year, and they've been composing from there. So we've had some great kind of like back and forths with all this kind of eerie, atmospheric electronic music. And we've done something quite weird with this show, which is quite, in a way, quite ambitious because of the technicalities. But we are doing it all through a cassette player. So old, sort of late 90s, I think, cassette player from primary schools. The ones you find there. And the actors are all in charge of the music. So we've got lots of different tapes, and they're the ones that play the music and record the witness testimonies on stage. That's what the tape player's there for as well. So music is a huge part of the show as well, and setting the atmosphere, because as I said, we're mixing like that true crime documentary with a performance, and it's got all those kind of elements in there as well.
Fantastic. So beyond this, what else is on the agenda for Pregnant Fish? It's been a while since we've chatted. What other plans have you got? I know this is the forefront of your mind at the moment, but if you're anything like me, you're always thinking about the next projects.
Yeah, so we've been fully in the studio thinking about this case. We've been obsessed about this case for so long, and once we've kind of given it to an audience and we can work out sort of producing it elsewhere, we've got lots of different things in the pipeline. I can't give too much away at the minute. One of the things I'm working with is to do with, because I'm currently doing my thesis at the moment, and working with lots of young people, the millennial generation, about how they feel about politics and about the world in general, and getting their opinions to create some theatre from that as well. So sort of different interactive workshops with people all around the country is our next kind of thing, once Bella's kind of been given over to an audience for a bit.
Fabulous. So who's in this production? Is it your normal team, or you got new members, or?
We've got some great new people as well. So we've got the cast is Bibi Francis and Leah Francis, who you know very well.
Yep.
We've got Hannah Marie Tate, who's been with us since 2011 as well. And then we've got Tori Brazier and Patrick McHugh, who are new additions for this production. I know Patrick from a while back. Well, we've known them from. It's really weird because it's kind of been. It's almost like they were meant to work with us because people have known each other from different areas of things. But they've been brilliant in kind of jumping in, and it's a real collaborative process. It's been devising this whole thing together has needed a really kind of intense team, and a team that are willing to be able to give up like so much time of their lives over a year basically to kind of work out whether this can actually become a performance and to be this production that it is now.
I should ask, are you in the show or just directing this time?
I'm just directing this time. I'm out there calling the shots and trying to work out how to do things.
And how is that?
It's been really good. Yeah, it's been a really good process. As I say, like we've it's been a real workshop kind of thing, and a lot of the time I've gone in where I don't know. We'll take some witness testimonies and a letter to the police and a newspaper article, and we go, okay, well, what can we do with this? Like, how can we stage that? How do you take these kind of dead and inactive files and pieces of paper and turn them into something live and active and engaging on the stage? And it's a lot of the time you don't feel like a director, you feel like a sort of co-collaborator, which has been really, really good, because I don't want to be someone who tells people exactly what to do. It's not a kind of until you get to this part of, okay, we're going to we're turning this now into a completely staged performance, that you can kind of start directing in that respect. But to be able to work together, I think, is so much more fun in a way in the rehearsals, but also it brings about things that you would never have thought about yourself. Like you can't imagine all the things that people are going to be able to just do if you give them the freedom to do it.
Fantastic. Opening next Tuesday, just over a week.
Yes.
How does this week pan out for you? A couple more rehearsals?
Yeah, so we've got we're in the studio this evening, and then we've got a couple days to kind of just go, okay, just breathe, get everything together in terms of last bits of set and technicality stuff, and then it's intense right up until opening night, because we just want to. It's very physical. And we're always very particular on things looking crisp and sharp. And we've got Roman Berry has come in to do our movements. He's our movement director, and I don't come from a dancing background at all, but I'm a huge fan of, and we're a huge fan as a company of physical movement and expressive movement. And to have Roman in, to have that dancer's background come and kind of tighten everything up and make things really sharp and almost like explosive, like, you've got storytelling aspects and then suddenly this huge bit of physicality. And it's great to have that and that's what we're really tight on these last couple of rehearsals.
Brilliant. If you didn't need to sell it anymore, sell it in a sentence, what would you say?
Who put Bella in the Wych Elm? I think that's
so. That.
It's a question you need answering.
Fantastic. Well, I just think it sounds absolutely fantastic. I wish it was a little bit closer, but I wish you and the whole company all the very best for next Tuesday and the week run in the Space in London. Tickets available through the Space, space.org.uk, and then watch this space, if you pardon the pun, to find out what's going to happen next to this piece. And it might be that you have a whole run of putting true crime on stage now.
I mean, I would love to. It's been a really interesting experience. And actually, on next Wednesday, we're not doing the show because we are running a workshop for actors and non-actors at the Space to come and learn how we have put true crime onto the stage. So we're using real, police documents and archive files. And we're sort of taking through people on practical steps on how they could do this themselves. So it's something we want to pass on as well.
Very nice, good stuff. Well, I've got a piece of music which is appropriate for the time, 1941. This